Welcome back to the Follow D Money podcast. This week's guest is someone that I've been mentioning every single week this season. He's a friend of mine, but he has transformed into family and a business partner. And he's just an overall great guy. And I'm hoping that we can tap into everything that he's getting into and the Sit With Me app. But today I am speaking with Jim Norman, or James, like whatever.
Let's go with Jim.
Jim?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm usually called worse, but
Yeah,
let's go
okay.
with Jim.
You like Jim.
I'm
All
down
right.
with that,
I
yeah.
call you Jim. So
Yeah.
I want to start this off like a normal podcast where you're allowed to tell everyone who you are, where you come from, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, they're probably a little tired of hearing my name at this point, being that you're so kind to mention me at the beginning of every episode.
Hey,
But
it's my pleasure.
I love it, man. Yeah, Jim Norman. I'm from here in Indy,
Yep.
South Side. Went to Paramarine High School.
Yeah.
I got 3 kids now. I'm a dad first and foremost.
Yep.
I got to give them their shout out.
Right,
They'll hear
right.
this. Kendall.
How old?
Kendall's 13.
Yep.
My oldest girl, Cameron, is 11.
Yep.
My middle daughter, who's a serious athlete already.
Okay.
And then my wild man Ryder, dude, he's crazy. He's 7 and he's
Okay.
fantastic. So
Dope.
they're everything, man. They're super cool. But I'm just a kid from the South Side, man. I was a sports kid. I got 2
Yep.
older sisters.
Yep.
My parents are all-time great folks,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fun growing up here in Indy and being a sports kid and heading down to college in Southern Indiana.
Yep.
But that all kind of makes sense, man. What doesn't make sense is how a dude from LA winds up talking to me here in Indiana, in Broad Ripple, Indiana, on a podcast. So I'm gonna shake it up a little bit on you, man.
Okay.
So I want to start hearing a little bit about you, and then we'll get into me and some of the other stuff. But,
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about you, where you grew up, and how you got out here to Indiana.
So I was born in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know that, but my father and his side of the family are from Colorado. And he met my mom after his family moved to LA, and they moved back to Colorado. I was born in Denver. My sister was born in Denver, and then we ended up back in LA. And we lived in Compton. We lived in South Central, and then I spent my high school, junior high years in a city called Gardena.
Okay.
They're all relative. They're all
Yeah.
LA County next to each other.
Okay.
And I mean, sports were very important in my life,
Yeah.
and they weren't really important in my parents' life. Like, they didn't care. Like, sports was literally my thing.
Right.
They allowed it to happen, but I basically just did all the work it took to play sports and just be a part of a team. And it was really great because it kept me out of the element of LA in the 90s. So
Right. And you probably had. I mean, you had some talent. Did you see in yourself that you had talent and put extra work in?
Nah. No, it wasn't that I saw talent, but I did want to not suck.
Right.
And I was surrounded by talent.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to get better because I was surrounded by people who I wanted to be better than.
That's awesome.
And they were good. Like, I grew up in the 90s. I grew up with players like Andre Miller, Paul Pierce, Baron Davis.
Now, were you around these dudes? I mean,
Yeah, we grew up. I mean,
man, it's unbelievable.
all the same pickup games, Venice
Yeah.
Beach, Isis Park. Like, we go to Peck Park. All these places are where everybody from LA, you kind of mix and mingle and play all
Sure.
the time, So that experience just created the drive to become a better athlete. And then from there, I went to junior college in LA, and then South Dakota. Met my wife out there, and a lot of opportunities after that. But she was pregnant, and I ended up coming back here, wanting to further my career more and longer. But being a father was the most important thing.
100%.
You know what I mean? And another thing that people do not know about me is I went to school to be a cop.
Did you really?
Yeah, I went to school to be a cop.
Oh, super interesting.
Very interesting. And the reason why I wanted to be a cop is even more interesting because I wanted to be a cop because I didn't trust cops at all.
Yeah.
Where I come from, the police are not there to protect us. They're there to police us. And I thought that me becoming a cop, I could change the perspective. I could say that I am here to protect you. I am here to protect our neighborhood. I am here to keep everyone safe, or I am here to enforce the law. You know, like that was my dream. And it didn't work out. One, because after you have children, you have a different mindset.
100%.
Me personally. And then I literally just went into the workforce, like literal worked at a retail store, you know, and still thought that I may possibly go back into basketball. I thought I might, and I kept the options open. I worked out like a professional athlete all the time. And at some point I just realized, you know, I'm getting older and it's not doing it. We have another kid after that, and I'm there, and, you know, I'm just in the workforce and living the day-to-day grind, you know, but that's how I got to Indiana. And that's just that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
But this is not about me.
Well, all right, we're going to go back and forth a little bit on that one. We'll see how that works. I feel like, I mean, you've said my name a number of times, so I feel like
this is your podcast.
It kind of, I didn't want to say that, but, you know, I got a little sliver of this is mine. And so I feel like I'm going to take a few liberties and put you on the spot a little bit.
I do not disagree.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
And after Perry Meridian, what did you do? So you went to school in Southern Indiana.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting, dude, is I was a pretty shitty student. Okay. I was not a good, this would be something we could talk about too, is just the school system didn't seem to really work for me. I was doing all I could do to get by and get C's.
Yep.
There's a funny story about my mom, God love her. She put together this book back when I was maybe in 6th grade. I was getting D's and F's.
Wow.
And she made this study guide to teach me how to study. And it was amazing. It worked really well. The news came over to the house and they were like, look at this kid that was a dumbass, and now he's getting B's, and and look how great it was. And it was a cool story. I was super proud of my mom, and I was happy that she got all this notoriety. In the back of my mind, I'm sitting there thinking my dad was going to kick my ass if I didn't start working a little bit harder and that sort of thing. So school was not my thing. I made it through. I went to college. I enjoyed the experience. I loved college, but it was a lot about the people experiences and the bonding and the things that I did. And I had a decent job and I hustled the job and that sort of thing, but making a lot of friends and connections and bringing people together. I just learned a ton. So when I graduated college, it was time to, get a real job, man. My dad was like, you got to figure it out now.
Yep.
And I was on my way to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Okay.
I was going to be that kid that's waiting there when you get off your plane and he's signing you up and getting your car.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's going to suck. This is going to be a grind.
What did you want to do before you went to college? What was your dream?
I was all over the place, man. I was, I love sports.
Yep.
I was a pretty good baseball player.
Okay.
I unfortunately was not blessed to be 6'5", 6'6", whatever you are. I was
6'8".
6'8". Oh fuck. Yeah. So I was not blessed in that regard. I could hit, I could throw.
Yep.
So I got a couple of offers to go play college ball, but it was mainly at all dude schools, really small.
Yep.
And I was just like, I'm not in any threat to go pro. So,
Right.
So I didn't know, man. I like art. I wanted to be an artist, and that's kind of why I got into marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Little known fact, I actually kind of drew this shirt. This
really?
Yeah, I took a picture and then I redid it on my iPad.
Oh,
drawing.
that's dope.
So, I liked art, but it wasn't anything that I thought I was going to ever pay the bills with. I wasn't exceptional like a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure, man. I loved dealing with people though,
Yeah.
And so, long story short, man, my dad mentioned an uncle of mine that had a business out in Connecticut.
Yep.
And it was the uncle through marriage, but this guy was old school. Family was immigrants from Sicily.
Wow.
Came from the dirt, nothing. Grinded to build this company himself with a couple of partners, but he mortgaged his house twice to get the money.
Yep.
And being a business owner myself, I'm just sitting there thinking like, holy cow, to potentially lose your home if your business idea doesn't work is something, right?
Yep.
And so I had a conversation with him, and he was, in true old school fashion, he was like, you're going to start from the bottom. You can come out here and you can check it out, and you're going to start from the bottom. And it was this weird business that nobody had ever heard of called litigation support.
Okay.
And essentially we took all the paper. This was back before email, really. We took all the paper and got it into computers so lawyers could review it and search it quicker. But I'm talking about semi-loads of paper. Fill this building 5 times full of paper, like massive collections of paper. So I got going in that business. I went out there the first week and I'm pulling staples. Here I am this, I think I'm big time, right? And and I'm pulling staples and getting documents scanned in. And we had this huge sea of folks that would key in authors and recipients and dates. And I did that for a while, just learned the business. Fast forward, I finally got into managing the projects. I understood the business and I liked the gratification of seeing the whole job through.
Yep.
And that's when some things started to click to me, like, all right, I enjoy the process of things. I enjoy making sure the customer's happy. I enjoy the gratitude that I get when I nail a deadline and that sort of thing. Yep. So I did that for a lot of years. Weird story, though. My uncle's company blew up. It did really well.
Yeah.
He sold 60% of it for north of $40 million.
Dang.
And the weird thing is the guy that bought it, he was a young kid. He was actually a year younger than I was at the time that I am. He stole the money that he used to buy it through creating fake energy trades, which, like, I'm not even smart enough to figure out how that's a thing.
So he stole the money that he paid your uncle with?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So my uncle had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Obviously the government came in and shut everything down and whatnot. Luckily, my uncle got to keep his money.
Oh.
But the 30% that he still owned was all of a sudden worth nothing. He wasn't hurting, but the company had to go away because it was bought with bad money and that sort of thing. So it was a bizarre story, but that was a good time for me to, split from Connecticut, which I enjoyed Connecticut quite a bit, but came back to Indiana then to hang out closer to my family because, raise some kids here.
Do you have extended family here too, like cousins?
Yeah, I do. It's interesting. My mom's side of the family is from southeastern Kentucky.
Okay.
My dad's from Connecticut, and they're all out there. And somehow my parents landed here in Indiana.
Ah.
And then my mom's side of the family sort of followed them here. So I have a few aunts that are still around in town here.
Yep.
So I moved back to Indiana. I got a job at a law firm, essentially doing the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Email was around by then. And a few years later, I just kind of decided that I feel like, I could do this sort of on my own.
Yep.
A good friend of mine named Matt McCormick became my business partner. He and I worked together for a lot of years. And so we decided to roll the dice and start our own company about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it was a ride, man. It was something else. I'm sure there's all
So
kinds
how did you start this company? Like, what was the idea behind this company that you started?
Yeah, I mean,
and you never had your own company at that point.
No.
So what was the mindset going into being an entrepreneur, basically?
Yeah, I think I always looked at myself as my own company. I'm one of those guys that is like, I'm always repping me, right? I'm always a sales guy. No matter what, even as a project manager, I was a sales dude.
Yep.
And I kind of looked at my day-to-day work and climbing the ladder and doing all that kind of stuff as my own personal business, right?
Yep.
So I had that mindset. Matt had been involved in kind of buying into a company, and we had both watched, he worked for my uncle as well, we had both watched his journey.
Yep.
And so we kind of had a blueprint out there of what it could look like, but we wanted to put our own spin on it, right? We wanted to hire people that we really liked, hire the people that we had been in the trenches with for a lot of years and had bled with and had spent late nights with. And all
you
that sort of
trust
thing.
those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we sort of had a goal of not going for these massive deals, but kind of play in the medium-sized spaces and knock those out of the park. And we did something kind of cool. Matt and I were kind of the main founders and shareholders, and we had a partner named Donnie who was a super smart tech guy. And then our first project manager, Deb, we all got together and we made a meal together out in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And we all went and got our own ingredients and we cooked together and kind of figured it all out and talked about the goals and the dreams. And the thing that came out of that was wild. It was like, let's just do good work for good people. Let's not work for any clients that are assholes.
Yeah.
This was lawyers, man. It could be a cutthroat business, and they want to point fingers a lot sometimes. So we decided to just, let's just try and like have $1 million in revenue and hire some good people and pay ourselves an okay salary.
Yep.
And we did that, but when good people come together, things tend to blow up.
It does.
Yeah. So.
And you didn't even say what it was. You didn't say what the business was.
Yeah, I mean, it was litigation support. It was e-discovery. It was helping lawyers get through these giant. It's the same thing I've done my entire career.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really matter at the end of the day what we were doing. We were going to take care of our clients and be,
That's all
customer service.
That's all you were doing.
Yeah. And
you were like a support team for lawyers?
Yep.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
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 And you worked in a law firm, right?
I worked in a law firm at Barnes & Thornburg here in Indy for about 9 years, and I managed the whole department in all, 13, 15, 17 offices.
Yep.
This little aspect of managing their electronic data, their computer forensics, the cell phone, something happens on a cell phone and we need to get all the text messages or the deleted data, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I ran that for the law firm.
That's pretty important.
It is, when you need it, right? Like when people need it, it's a big deal. And in certain lawsuits, we've worked on some pretty fun, newsworthy, noteworthy cases over the years, which was always kind of cool and interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it was quite the grind, and I think getting together with the right people and doing it my way was probably the most fun, of course.
Then, where did your idea come of Sit With Me? Like, you're doing that job.
Yeah.
You own your own business. Where does an idea like Sit With Me come from?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's something I feel like has been in me for a long time.
Yeah.
My sister was a server.
Mm-hmm.
All of my college roommates were servers or bartenders.
Yeah. It's hard to meet a person who hasn't had a close relationship with someone that was in the industry, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Somebody
you've dated,
yeah,
somebody you've lived with, whatever it is, right? So
yeah.
I've had this empathy for the service industry over the years, and it just stuck with me probably from those relationships. And I spent so much time on the road on my own, sitting in bars and restaurants, interacting with servers and bartenders. Probably too much time, but the reality was I kept my project management mind. I kept thinking there's got to be a better way. These people they're salespeople too.
Yeah.
I make commissions, they make tips. There's no different, but I have all these tools to help me remember this person's special interests or what this person likes or when that person's birthday is and when they like to buy and what their schedule looks like. I have all these technology tools at my fingertips.
Right.
And servers and bartenders and busboys and hostesses and chefs, you name it, a lot of them it's like a commodity.
Yeah.
The restaurant industry seems to think that, anybody could come in and just deliver the food, which technically maybe you're right. You could put it on the back of a robot or something, I guess. But part of the experience, part of the atmosphere is that person and what they bring and their salesmanship or their interests or their whole vibe, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of was attracted to the folks that saw that and wanted to become better, become a salesperson.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it was just a natural progression for me.
Yep.
Kind of like, I mean, you with your podcast, like it's something that you really, I think, enjoy talking to people. You enjoy getting to know people. You enjoy bringing the best out of people, right?
Yep.
So, like, I want to know, like, what's the goal for the podcast? What's the long-term, like, goal that you want to see 5 years from now to get this podcast off and running? What's it going to look like from now?
I think a lot of people who are close to me know the answer to this, and the answer is I would like to do this on a different scale. My first goal was to have my own studio, or something comparable to the Round Table, but I wouldn't necessarily facilitate music, but I would facilitate podcasts.
I love it.
But in 5 years, since this year has started and the way that the podcast has grown, my detail has went to I want to have a mobile podcast. I want to have a podcast that is set up in a mobile home, and I can drive across the country and talk to people with the same kind of stories that I'm finding in Indy, but all over the country. And I could set that up, and eventually we could document the entire experience and make like a series about it. So it's not even about the podcast; it's about the whole journey. And for a 5-year goal, I think that's great. I think ultimately, I thought a brick and mortar would be what I wanted, and in a brick and mortar, I could also facilitate other podcasts. I could teach how to start a podcast. Yeah. I could mentor people.
You could do that in a van, in an RV, and that sort of thing too.
It'd just be smaller scale on that side. And I think eventually, I think if I started with the RV, I think the brick and mortar could come after. But my ultimate goal seemed to be that I wanted to take the show on the road. I mean, I have a great team, and if we could somehow figure out a way to facilitate that, that is the goal. That's a dream.
Yeah.
Like I would wake up with a smile every single day.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
So is the value that you give, is that going to be to the podcaster to get them, get them going, get them off on their journey? Because I see a lot of the value. I mean, you've got it coming, out of every angle, right? So some of the value is the guests that you bring on, giving them a platform to show all the amazing things that they're doing, right? A lot of the value is the advice and the tips and things like that you're bringing. So, how does that all come together? What would the ultimate goal be when you look at it that way?
Well, the ultimate goal to me is to educate or inspire someone in some way. And that's kind of how I operate in my everyday life. When I'm having a conversation with you, I'm trying to show you something that maybe you didn't see, the way you've never seen it before. And that's what happens when you bring different perspectives together and you have conversations that are productive.
Yeah.
And not at odds.
Yeah.
Like when you're trying to grow, it's easier. You never learn anything if you keep talking. You gotta listen. You gotta listen. And I think my goal is to, with every podcast, and I have such a wide range of guests that I'm trying to touch just one person. Like I want one person to say, that podcast helped me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as long as the conversation is going the way that they have been, I think somebody is going to learn something every episode. One person. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And the more people I reach, the more people I'm able to touch.
Yeah. I love that, man. I think it's amazing, and knowing the dream to be a police officer background too.
That's crazy, right?
That is cool, and that's an interesting podcast episode, mindset anyway. Like to be able to bring together maybe some thoughts and some help around what can be done differently around policing and how we can help communicate better and what everybody can do in that area. Is something that I think is pretty unique for you to be able to look back on the outside in and offer some real solutions.
Well, I think that sometimes a viewpoint can be deemed as negative, but you don't even know the background of the viewpoint. I mean, I wanted to be a cop for a reason, but there are a lot of things about policing that I do not like. So when I voice that, it can come off as anti, and it's never. I've never had an anti sentiment toward a police officer or a cop or policing at all. Right. It's just like I don't like the way things are handled. I don't like the lack of accountability. There's a lot of things that I can talk about, but that's just my perspective. That's where I'm coming from. So a lot of people are so protective or so hateful, and they have that one perspective. They're not trying to listen to the other. I'm coming from like a whole different angle.
Well, what's cool about the conversations that we've had is you're very comfortable stating that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
You're here to learn just as much as you're here to coach and teach and bring people together. Yeah. And I think that is what's so engaging and kind of leading people down this path of we don't know everything that is going through a police officer's mind as well as the person that they're dealing with. We don't know everything that's going on. We don't know all the situations. And so like having that conversation, that open dialogue is probably the most key part, because everybody wants to be so extreme on either side. It's all terrible, it's all great, it's all whatever. Right. And really we're all in the middle on a lot of this stuff. Everybody wants things to get better.
And without change, like without people understanding that things have to change, we're never going to get anywhere. We'll never get anywhere. But I want to get back to you.
All right, man. All right.
Okay. How has the app, you released the app about a month ago? Not
even, man. It's been about 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks. How's it going?
Fine, I think, man. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Like, if I'm Starbucks and I'm releasing an app, this sucks. If I'm just some kid that built it in the basement, it's amazing.
Yep.
So I feel good about it, man. We're right around 3 weeks in. We got 400 downloads.
Yeah.
It's behaving pretty well.
Yep.
There's a couple little clunky things that we're working on. The cool thing about it is when you build an app, you come up with what's called the MVP. Minimum viable product.
Okay.
And so it only had, if I've got 20 or so features I want to put in this thing, it only had 8 or 9 of them.
Okay.
And so you get it out there, you see what the market says, you let people give you some feedback, and you go from there. So we've got it out there. I've got a good 10, 11, 12 more features that are slated to come out. Probably, I don't know when this is going to air, but by the time this airs,
Christmas.
they'll be, so the version 1.5 will be out.
Okay.
And I'll be working my way to version 2.0, be a good way onto that. So the cool thing is I've got a bunch of updates coming. But it's going well. The most encouraging thing, I think, is the thesis of what the app is there to do.
Yeah,
right?
Explain to people what the app is, who it caters to, and how it can help the industry.
Sure. Yeah. In its most simple form, it's a sales tool for the service industry.
Okay.
Servers, bartenders, you name it.
Yep.
It's a way for them to connect with their regulars. It's a way for them to communicate with their regulars, share their schedules without having to give out personal information.
Yep.
They don't have to give out their cell phone. They don't have to give out their Facebook, their Instagram, whatever. It kind of keeps it all in one spot with privacy and that sort of thing taken into account. So for them, there's some awkwardness at the end of each meal. If you were a solid customer and you were a good person and you treated them well, a lot of times they're going to try and spout off their schedule, or they may say, hey, come back and see me. And there's that awkwardness of, man, do I give this person my phone number? Are they going to take that the right way? How do I tell them to come back and see me and mean it? Like, there's some weirdness there.
Yep.
So the idea is that now they can say, hey, I've got this app. It's called Sit With Me. If you had a good time, follow me out here. You can get my schedule, and if you want to come back, you'll know when I'm working. Please ask for me.
Yep.
So the idea is that it's going to make the connecting of that server or bartender that is looking to drive their tips up with the right customers.
Okay.
So that's the main thesis behind what it does. Now, the customers, they want a good experience just as well. Most customers. There's a number of people I've talked to that have been like, I don't care.
They don't
brings
care,
me my food, which is fine.
Yep.
Or they're crappy tippers, and we don't care about them anyway. We don't want them on there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do kind of care, or they have a certain bartender that they like or a server they like that just makes their experience a little bit better. They start to develop that relationship. So with the customers, you can start to see when your favorite servers or bartenders are working. You can plan it out a little bit. You'll have an idea when they're there. And so you can, if you're deciding where to eat tonight, you might go one place because your favorite bartender's working and save the next one, for another night. The other thing that's kind of cool is the map and the explore feature. Like, if I'm flying to Dallas tomorrow, I can check ahead and see what servers are working tomorrow or the next week in Dallas, and I can sort of plan my nights out. I had an experience down there at Knife once where I sat with a waiter who said he was Tony Romo's personal server when Tony Romo was down there a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow, that's super cool. And that made the night more interesting, right?
Yeah.
So as a sales dude, if I'm taking a client out in Dallas and I know they're a big Cowboys fan, I would want to sit with this dude and have him share some stories.
Right.
So something like that, to be able to look ahead and decide where I'm going to go, or that person to be able to brand themselves as this type of server with these type of stories, it just sort of makes sense of taking personal branding to this service industry where a lot of people are just kind of treated as a commodity these days.
But there will also be the people who will have the counter to that and say, how does that affect the dynamic of the restaurant? Like, how does it affect all servers? How does it affect management? What are you hearing from those people?
Yeah, that's been an interesting conversation, because you do have a few managers, GMs that are like, wait a minute, now I'm going to have everybody coming in and asking for Susie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're welcome. Tell everybody else to step their game up, figure out what Susie's doing. Why is everybody coming to see her? Get her some help. Put her on fish night. Make sure she's selling, because she's gonna fill this place up, right? And so that's a good thing,
right?
So I think the one the one thing a manager asked me once is, why in the heck would I want this? And I said, all right, how many servers and cooks, chefs, how many busboys, like how many bartenders, all these, what's the number? How many people do you have that work here? And he said something like 57. And so I said, do you want 57 salespeople like that are free? If you get them on the app, you have them, sending out their schedules, you have them communicating with their favorite customers, you have them posting
It's
quality
almost like
pictures.
free advertising for the restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
And he got quiet real fast, and he was thinking, wow, that does make sense. That's, all of a sudden it clicked that, social media is here to stay.
Yeah.
We didn't run around with a computer in our pocket.
Yep.
10 years ago.
No.
Really,
Right.
So it's just the new world. It's where we are now. And to have all of your employees, I would, at Q Discovery, I would have killed to have, all 85 of my employees messaging all the people that they had ever come in contact with throughout the industry, all the lawyers and all the corporate people, whatever. I would have killed to have them message them on a daily basis and be like, hey, I'm in here working today. You got any projects for me?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's customer service, and it's that whole thing all over again.
Okay. I mean, you explained the app.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was another question I want to ask about you, because you're a dynamic person. Since I've met you, you've been very giving in many ways, and you would hate to probably be called a philanthropist. I don't think that is a title that you would like to have, but you are that. And I just want to know, because I was having a conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine, and he is very able, but he says he's not a philanthropist at heart, but he's very giving, but he has to work at wanting to give. And I don't know where that comes from in you, or had it developed, but how do you decide who you want to help and what you want to be a part of?
Yeah, that's I think it's just something that's either in you or it's not in you.
Okay.
I'm happiest when I'm giving.
Yeah.
I'm happiest, and giving is probably not even the right word. It kind of it goes back to my, like, I like making people happy.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing a smile on somebody's face.
Yep.
I enjoy and I get a little weird and nervous when it comes back to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't like, you say kind things about me and I start to shudder a little bit. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Are you sure? Were you sure that's me?
Yeah.
But I've just found throughout the years that I'm at my best when and it goes like project management and building companies and building businesses. It's like I work for the people that are in the company.
Yeah.
I work for my clients. I work for them. Right now I work for the servers and the bartenders. That's who I work for.
Okay.
And it's just daily interactions with people, man. I see good people. I see good things, and I try and give back. I've been lucky.
Yeah.
I've definitely put in the work over the years, but it's worked out well for me.
Yeah.
And I want to give back and share and help people out. And so when I come across good people, it's just like, man, that dude's awesome. That gal's awesome. How can I give back to them? How can I make their day a little bit better? It could be something as little as showing up with a coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be, something larger. I feel like it's fun, and I'm really happy to be able to give stuff away.
Yeah. So have you always been like that, or is this something that you grew into?
I think I've always been like this. It's funny. It might have got shut down a little bit when I was a kid. My mom was super nervous about the world.
Oh, okay.
God rest her soul. She was an amazing mom. But everybody was going to take advantage of me, right?
Oh.
And so she was super nervous about me going off and doing things, and how generous I would be, and with my time and my stuff and things. But I do remember a funny story. You'll get a kick out of this, dude. Like, I couldn't have been more than maybe 8 or 9 years old.
Yep.
And there was this girl that was the aunt of one of my best friends.
Yep.
Her name was Kelly. I'll never forget. She's gorgeous.
Yep.
Gorgeous.
Yep.
She was probably about 17 or 18 years old, so quite a bit older than me. And she had just taken us somewhere. And it's safe to say she's probably one of my very first crushes, as a young fellow.
Yep.
And I was just super into my my thought process of, I'd see her like, maybe rub her mouth or lick her lips. I'm like, oh, she's thirsty. I'll go get her a drink, right?
Yeah.
Or, and I would do that with a lot of people, but with her, it was a little different.
Yep.
And so one day I got up the courage and I was like, you know what, Kelly, I can kind of predict the future. I can kind of know what's coming. And she was like, oh, you mean you're a psychic? What am I thinking now? And I'm like, fuck, that's not what I meant. This didn't come out right. This is not good. And I shut it down immediately, and I don't think I ever talked to her ever again because I was terrified. But what, the reality is my intuition about people's needs and what they want has always been pretty strong.
Yep.
Even going back to a young kid. So I just feel like I there's been a lot of times when I've trusted my intuition and it's worked out well.
Yeah.
And I stick with that. And, I enjoy doing nice things for people, and it's part of who I am, I guess, and It's always been there.
Dope. How have you handled adversity up to this point in your life?
By not ever thinking about it again.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I don't dwell on stuff, right? We run into problems constantly.
Yep.
You know better than anybody, man. Like, there's issues every day, and I've made mistakes. I've failed. I've screwed up big time. I've screwed up small things.
Yep.
And for the most part, I've just had to let it go and not dwell on it and move on. Forgive myself of the mistake that I made.
Yep.
Whether it's business, personal, whatever it is, and move on. Because I think if you dwell on it for too long, it's going to become a struggle or a hurdle in your mind, and you won't be able to go do the next thing. You won't be able to jump on the next task or the next exciting thing, or jump into your next idea.
Yep.
So I think forgiving yourself, man, and just moving on. What about you, man? This is because I know you've had to run into a bunch of struggles along the way. And maybe even outside of the podcast thing, like how do you deal with? What are some of the biggest ones you've had to deal with that you've overcome?
I mean, a lot of mine is just changes in my life. Recently, the biggest one was my motorcycle wreck a couple years ago. But when it comes to adversity or no's, I ignore them pretty much.
Right.
Like a no to me or being rejected, I'm so numb to it these days.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know where that came from, but I don't expect anything. And I really do think that I work hard enough to earn everything that I have.
Mm-hmm.
It may seem easy. I think a lot of people think that I am given a lot. Like people assume that I walk on water sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They see all that I've accomplished. They see all that I do, and they don't assume that I work for it. But me, I know for a fact that I put in the work every time I do anything, and I deserve everything that I have.
Well, the motorcycle wreck that's a big deal, right? Because a lot of people would have really cashed out mentally and felt sorry for themselves. Like, talk a little bit about the mental game to not dwell on the unfortunate part of all that. It's a terrible accident, right?
Yeah.
How do you mentally say, all right, that happened, now let's get to work and get better?
Well, I've told you the story about the wreck and what it did to me.
Yeah. Tell me anyway.
I'll say it again. So when I was when you're in a wreck, there is like a split second of that everything happens. And in the moment that I knew that this car was going to hit me and I was going to go flying, it seemed an eternity to think about life and think about the past and the future. And for a moment, I thought to myself, okay, I'm okay to die. Like I was A-okay. I was fine. Like, it could be, that could sound sad, but in my eyes, I was like, I haven't done anything bad. I haven't screwed anybody over. I haven't hurt anyone, and my kids are taken care of, and I have insurance and all that stuff, and everybody will be good. I thought, it's okay. I'm ready to go. Right. I wasn't scared. It didn't even affect me, but I go through the process and I don't die. I'm there, and I'm on the ground. I'm in a ditch. I'm sitting there and I'm laying there. And the first thing that I thought was, I didn't die. I'm here. And I was like, now what?
Now what? Yeah.
I was like, now what? And I was like, I was okay with dying.
Right.
And I hadn't accomplished anything in my life, in my opinion. You know, I was happy with where I was at that moment. And as I lay there, before people came to help me and before I go to the hospital and everything, the thought came into my head that I have to do more. I have to live. I have to allow myself to be the person that I know that I am, because I think that I really suppressed the true me up to that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I have had guests on here that have resonated things that happened in my life. Like Haley Jordan said, say yes to everything. She said, make sure you say yes to opportunities, because if you don't say yes, you might be missing out on something that's going on in that opportunity. And then Todd McComas said, do something that you're passionate about. And, you know, even no matter what you got going on in life, find something that caters to what you're passionate about, and you never know what it can turn into. And those two things are like my new, like, rule 1 and rule number 2.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I literally say yes to everything, and I am very passionate about what I'm doing here, and I still have a full-time job, I still have a family, and I still take care of everything else. But this is very big in my life. You know, this is a major part of my life. And that accident, without having that accident, I would probably just be doing whatever I was doing two years ago.
Life-changing.
Literally, man.
Yeah.
It's life-changing. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like it kind of brings me to something else that I wanted to ask you, because you do have a lot going on. You have a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
And you are probably, on top of all the things you just mentioned, you're one of the best networkers I've ever met.
Oh, I pride myself on that.
Amazing,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so, like, I'd like to hear your, if you're giving advice to a young guy or gal out there that feels like they're too busy at their day job or their 9 to 5, and they got this dream and they have, a kid or whatever it is going on, like, what kind of advice do you have for somebody that has a dream? It doesn't have to be a podcast, but something similar that they want to chase, and how can they achieve that in your mind?
I think it's simple. I think I alluded to it earlier. You just have to make time. I think a lot of people, even if we talk about working out, and a lot of people say, I don't have time, or, I can't find the time to do it and dedicate myself. It's like, you find time to do whatever you want to do. If you are alive, you are not doing something 24 hours a day.
Sure, find time for that Netflix.
Yeah, you find time for Netflix, or you find time to eat, and you can eat less. Like, you have to make time. You have to say yes. You have to do it, and you have to sit away some time to make what makes you happy a priority in your life. Because no matter how bad your life is, if you find time for yourself, you're going to become a different person. And you're going to become a motivated person, and you're going to start seeing results. I think. Yeah. I mean, I did this after 40, bro. Like, yeah. I mean, and I'm telling you, I would have been stuck in a rut.
It's easy to do.
You and I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah, well, we may be sitting somewhere else. I might be, we may be sitting somewhere else, because I was, I've been on a crazy path, and you gotta right the ship sometimes. I honestly, I feel like I'll probably end up mentioning it a couple of times, but I feel like self-awareness is such a big deal. It's almost like a superpower these days, to be able to look yourself in the mirror, have that conversation inside your head that says, I'm really shitty at this, or I am making excuses. Right. I am spending too much time. Like, I don't have time to work on my app, but I've watched 4 hours of Netflix today. Yep. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I know.
So to be able to have those conversations with yourself, and the other thing that you just mentioned, we're getting up there in age a little bit. Yeah. We still have a lot of years left, right? Yeah. A lot of years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to play this game for another 40, 50 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the patience is really key. Right. There's been a lot of younger folks that I've talked to that they want they want 1 million followers on their podcast
right now,
within a month. Yeah. And I'm like, what? You haven't done anything. You haven't done a thing yet. Like, I think the patience with a little dash of self-awareness is something that
that's a good key.
You can really attest to, because it's clearly working, and you're on your grind and on your journey, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Kind of weird question.
Good.
Since we talk about restaurants, I I wanted to ask you. You watch movies, right?
Sorta.
Not really.
I mean, I struggle with movies a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. But that's all right. The funny thing is, I don't know if you've noticed, I get a little antsy if I'm sitting around for too long and
Yeah, you're busy.
not being productive or not doing something that I want to, that I need to get done. And so I think the last movie I saw in the theater was maybe outside of a couple of kids movies. Frozen and that nonsense.
Yep.
Was like Wedding Crashers.
That was the last movie you saw?
That was the last time I've been in the theater.
Oh my God! All right, well,
yeah, that's all right.
No. We're gonna go somewhere.
All right.
but okay, I'll ask it because of the app.
Okay.
Because of the app. What is your favorite restaurant themed movie?
Oh man. I don't know. It's funny. I got a couple of scenes that pop into my mind.
Scenes, okay.
Like a scene out of a movie. Again, I'm not a movie dude, right?
Right.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out if, did The Gladiator have a movie scene or a restaurant scene? Because I liked Star Wars. I like Gladiator movies.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of,
Star Wars had restaurants.
It had restaurants.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah.
The only movie I really can think of, there was a movie called Office Space.
Yeah.
Which, having worked in the corporate world, that's a movie that you need. If you've been in a cubicle ever in your life, you need to watch that movie. But there is a whole
The Bobs,
yeah, fuck the Bobs. I've had to deal with the Bobs for so many years. I'm tired of those dudes. But there's a scene in the beginning where Jennifer Aniston works at the restaurant. It's called like Tchotchkes or something like that. She's got to wear all her flair, and there's the kid, and I don't know, that for some reason that whole vibe it makes me think of some of the struggle in the restaurant industry. And so I don't know, maybe the getting a server like Jennifer Aniston who's cooler in that movie, more customers than that dick that wears all the flair.
Right.
She
don't need all that flair. I remember.
She didn't need that. Yeah,
I remember that scene.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of, I guess, movie wise.
Also, who would you consider heroes in your life? Not, and I know how big you are on your parents, but we're gonna leave them out. We're gonna leave family out.
Damn.
Who would you consider a hero or someone that you admire coming up?
Man. Well, you already, Big Jim's the guy, right? But I said he might listen, so I got to make sure he knows. He was he'd be the number one choice. My dad for sure.
Yep.
That's a good question, man. It's funny. I've had some mentors. My uncle was huge. My business partner Matt McCormick has helped me a ton.
Yep.
His head's too big as it is, so I couldn't throw him in the hero category.
Right.
But I've probably, I'm not a big reader, but I've listened to 38 books probably in the past year or so.
Okay.
Which is fairly new for me. That's a whole different conversation we can get into, but
I read quite a bit.
Yeah, it's new for me.
But in the past year, and this is crazy, I've read zero books. Yeah.
Well, I'm picking up your where you leave off. I'm taking over.
Since I've started this, I haven't read one book.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Well, and you're getting these conversations and whatnot, which I think maybe feeds some of that.
Yeah, but I still buy books.
I do too. It's funny. I used to buy them constantly, and they'd sit on the shelf. I'd never crack it. And some people would ask me about them. I'm like, I haven't read it. Thank God for audiobooks because I can throw it in while I go for a run.
Yeah, I want to try audiobooks.
Oh man, it's amazing when you're working out or on a run or whatever. But I'm gonna steal something from Matthew McConaughey. I don't know. His book Greenlight is an amazing book. Okay. You should look into that one.
All right.
But he went down this path of his hero was himself in 10 years. So the person that you're going to become, the person you want to be, the dad you want to be, the business owner you want to be, how you want to operate 10 years from now is your hero. And you're always chasing it. You're always trying to get to that level.
Right.
But it for me, man, with the way he, in his Texas twang, he put it a lot cooler than I did, of course. But it was really eye-opening because there's people out there that are amazing and do amazing things. And I'm super proud that I've followed and paid attention and learned from them and that sort of thing. But as far as a hero, it's my dad, and it's what I have the potential to become.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's where I'd put it.
That's
what about you, man? I mean, who would your hero be?
Well, the easy choice for me is also my parents. They have great stories. They are they made me the person that I am. But I've had so many mentors, so many people that have affected my life and affected the person that I am in different ways. You know what I mean? Like I could talk all day about the people who have impacted me and made me the man I am. I guess I can say, so I worked at Menards, right? That's my first real job. I came here. I'm like an athlete, and I think I'm all that, and I know zero about home improvement or retail,
Right,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? But I
love
had a guy named Shane Noblet who was the store manager there, and this guy is a pig farmer from Southern Illinois, and he was just a leader. He was a leader in the way that I've never seen it. And I've grown up with some amazing coaches and my dad and everything. But this is a white guy from Illinois, Midwest guy, and he turned me into a different person with how he motivated me to work and motivated me to do well in a business setting and motivated me to manage myself. And this guy, he's now a friend of mine,
Awesome.
but he was never a friend of mine when he was my boss. He was never a friend, and I will always respect him at that level of a mentor and a friend now, and I consider him family. But I find these people all the time, and I can name one maybe next season I'll just name a person that inspired me somehow. But Shane Noblet, shout out to you, bro. He actually works with me at Southwest now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you wind up on ads for Southwest? I mean, you're clearly, the most handsome man in the room. No offense, fellas.
Please.
But,
that's just another thing. Like I don't know how I get all these opportunities, but
I do.
I literally was called by Southwest, and they just asked me if I wanted to be in ads. And I'm just sitting there, and I got an email, and it's just, and then from the email, I, responded yes, and they hit me up. And then Southwest does, they do casting calls. So Southwest has their own, like media production and all that. But every time you watch a commercial that is Southwest, anytime a person is in a uniform for Southwest, they are an employee.
Legit employee, yeah.
Yeah. And
so they do internal casting calls.
They do internal casting calls, but they have a production company that they hired and they work with, and they do all the actual commercials. So like I've worked with Martin Schuler, who is, I don't know if you know the Bodies episode of ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's naked.
Yeah.
So he's taken my picture numerous of times.
What in the world?
Yeah. And then the Baywatch movie. Remember the Baywatch movie? So I was in a commercial directed by that director.
No way.
Yeah, like Southwest goes all out for their production. But yeah, it was literally just me being myself. I mean, like I don't miss the opportunity to talk to people. So it's like I think that I had a conversation with one of the higher ups, and they reached out and found me, and there I was. And
it's like we said before, selling yourself every day, man. Just being, being the CEO of your own brand every single day.
Every day.
You can't, if you take a day off, that might be the day that you miss an opportunity.
It'd be bad. Yeah, it'd be bad. I think a lot of people don't understand that your last name is your brand, or your name is your brand. So when people see you and they talk to you, and that is what you're representing yourself
every day.
You're representing, like you said, you're representing your brand every day. Mm-hmm. And for me, even how I present myself daily, how I operate, how I am viewed by you. Like, I don't think you've ever seen me in a bad mood, but I could have been in a bad mood. But you're not going to know. And when I leave the house, I'm not really big on appearance, but I'm not going to be a bum.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I never know what's going to happen. So I take pride in myself. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's it, really. And I can wear a smile no matter what the day is doing to me. Period.
That goes back to that self-awareness we were talking about. I mean, you're in it enough to realize that you may have had something bad going on. You may have had an off day, whatever it is, but that doesn't need to be projected on everybody else around
everybody else,
you.
no.
That doesn't need to be brought into the studio or into the break room at Southwest or wherever it is.
Right.
You want to rep your brand, your attitude, your positive vibes like you always do. And I think that's amazing.
But it doesn't mean that I don't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I also have recently found that self-care is very important, and being able to not be the brand all the time, but also have outlets such as yourself, such as Aaron Huber, who is our mutual friend,
Yeah.
such as other people, Justin Ernst, Adriana. Like, these are people that I can have a bad day to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I can release and let go and say, this is bad. I'm having a bad day.
Right.
You know, I'm not feeling it, or I don't want to be out, or I don't want to do this. We have to take care of ourselves in that way as well, because I think that we feel like we have to be on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to be on all the time.
100%. Yeah. Taking the mental time when you need it.
Yeah.
To right the ship a little bit and go to those people that you need to have those conversations with and vent, you know, when you need to vent.
Right.
That's all part of it, man. That's all part of take care of yourself. And you've come up with another unlock, though, I think, of where, and I think a young kid is trying to learn a little bit and giving some value back is like you found a way, as I am working on, to make your hobby a gig that brings you some money and make it like you love talking to people.
Yeah.
You love getting to know people and bringing the best out of people.
Yep.
And I think it's a big deal to say, all right, I'm going to start at zero. I'm going to start at nothing, and maybe you can even touch on that a little bit. Like getting this beautiful studio and getting a podcast rolling and doing all this stuff, it took a huge leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you went out and said, all right, I need a bunch of people to pay for me to do this.
Right,
and,
right.
I'm got to make a bunch of money, right? Because I'm going to be wonderful, right? Right? We know that you are going to be wonderful, but that's not the sales pitch, right?
Right.
So like, I think, you have found an unlock of doing stuff that you like and taking that risk and that gamble.
Yeah.
To get here. And I think that's huge, man.
But I think that's just entrepreneurship, period.
Mm-hmm.
You have to believe in what you have. You have to believe in your journey. You have to believe in your dream. And even if it's something that everybody else doesn't believe in, if you believe in it, I mean, you got to take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I do too. And I think you picking something that you'd be happy doing for a long time is key as well.
Good. Well, I think people are going to be interested to hear more from you. And maybe we can do it again. We've been talking for like an hour, probably.
Have we really? I told you, man. I told you this was going to fly.
We could do it for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I do want to give you one last question that I think, because you are a music guy.
I am a music guy. I am a music guy. Yeah.
I'm keep it simple.
Okay.
If you could be a band member of any band in the history,
oh man,
what instrument would you play? What would you be a vocalist, a bassist, and what band would you be in?
Man, that's a good one. I like that, man. I love music, right? And I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I had to kick my concert habit here over the last couple of years between.
Right. Well, you had no choice.
Yeah, and it's worked out well. I've seen Dave Matthews 88 times.
Wow.
So that's probably I could probably step in and sing for the Dave Matthews stuff pretty easy.
Okay.
My childhood makes me want to say I'd be one of the Beastie Boys.
Man, did you see that documentary? That was good.
I loved it.
That was so good. It was so good. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I've always wanted to play the guitar.
Okay.
I feel like that's kind of badass.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think I'd probably go with some sort of a like Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters.
I was about to say like Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, somewhere in that
you a
zone.
Chili Pepper fan?
I love the Peppers. Yeah, for sure. I'm all like Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. Like I've seen him in a bunch of his different acts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, like I'm a big Childish Gambino fan.
Okay.
So like I like that vibe, but he doesn't play the guitar.
No.
So I'm gonna go with like a Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl. Pink Floyd would have been kind of fun. That takes me back to my college. But I would be a guitarist for sure.
Nice.
This sings. I gotta get a mic in front of my face now.
Nice.
I'm getting addicted to it.
Yeah.
What about you, man? I hear you're a huge Justin Timberlake fan. Is this?
I'm a huge Justin Bieber fan.
Justin Bieber.
Bieber.
Oh,
I love Bieber. I would do a duet with Bieber if he's down. Shout out Bieber.
There you go.
I got Bieber fever.
Let's get it. We'll see if we can get at him.
Can we make this go viral? Because I
Yeah.
want Bieber to get this. I want to sing with Bieber.
Okay.
I don't care. We can do it in the studio. We can do it on stage.
We'll come to you.
Yeah, we'll come to you.
Yeah, whatever it is, we'll get there.
Well, I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah,
Give them your social medias because people should hit you up about Sit With Me.
Yeah,
They should
for
hit you up
sure. I
directly.
mean, whatever makes the most sense. So we've got Sit With Me app on almost everything.
Yeah.
If you ever want to see a cell phone twerk, get on TikTok and look at the Sit With Me app.
Sit With Me app.
But all the socials, I think I'm James Norman 13th
Okay.
on Instagram.
Okay.
That's kind of mainly what I use. LinkedIn, I'm out there too.
Okay.
James Norman.
Yep.
But yeah, Sit With Me app is probably I'm pretty much a one-man show. My nephew, shout out Dakota. Dakota takes care of a lot of my
Nice.
my stuff. He's an amazing production guy and audio video guy, so he's killing it for me. But yeah, hit Sit With Me app and you're gonna get me or Dakota.
Dope. I want everyone to please. This is key. Go to iTunes. Go to Spotify. And comment on the episodes that you hear, watch, YouTube, all that, and like and share and rate it. 5-star rating.
5 stars all the way around.
5-star, please.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
It's important. It's
amazing.
important to the game, And I want to thank Jim. I want to thank you for all you've done for me personally. And I want to thank you for being my friend. I want to thank you for coming and helping me do this.
Yeah.
I literally could not do it without you.
Hey man, my pleasure. Thank you, dude. This has been so fun for me, man.
Yeah,
I really
man. I'm
appreciate
glad
you.
people got to see you and get to know you more.
That's awesome. Thank you,
Like
sir.
I did. Thank you. I'll see you guys next time. Follow D Money, Sit With Me app together on the same podcast. Boom.